How's it going, guys? Football-ManagerYouthDevelopment.co.uk here. In this episode, we're going to be running another experiment, and in this one, we're going to be checking out which players make the most tackles per game. So to run this experiment, what I've done, I've holidayed a whole Premier League season just to have a look at the statistics and, the kind of players which do make the most tackles per game. Luckily for me, the top 10 list is split up in, we have got a defined top 10. So the likes of Koscielny, Kurt Zuma, Schneiderlin, Hoof, Mertesacker, Jagielka, and James McCarthy are all in this top 10 list of players that have managed to make the most tackles per game. It's quite interesting actually, so I have basically decided to make an Excel sheet with every single attribute of all the players. Because I've got a top 10 list of players, my basic idea is to get every single attribute from every single player. So I'll show you it in just a second, guys, but basically what I've done is just made, like an Excel sheet, written down every single attribute, and then because I've got 10 players, I've divided it, divided the final number by 10. Okay then, guys, so what you'll be seeing on your screen at the moment is the Excel sheet that I have created just to have a look at this, just to conduct this experiment for you guys. So what I've decided to do as well, in yellow you will see the 5 best attributes to look out for when trying to find players who make the most tackles in the game. I've actually taken a look at the player search using this method, and the results are absolutely spectacular. I'll show you obviously the results in a little bit. So in terms of actually looking at the attributes, you're looking at tackling, anticipation, bravery. Teamwork was actually in the top 5, and work rate as well. So most of them I can actually understand why they would be in the top 5 attributes to look out for when you're trying to look for players who, do make the most tackles per game. There was quite a lot of mentions as well, or, higher attributes for the likes of marking. That was quite high as well. Obviously positioning for more defensive players, that was quite high as well. And the likes of strength and stamina were also quite high when I was conducting this experiment. So now I've got the attributes that do make up the players that make the most tackles per game. What I've decided to do is just take over as Man City. I've just gone to their scouting screen, and what I'm looking for is just any players that we know, that we have knowledge about. So what I've decided to do here, guys, is just put in some attributes. So I've got my tackling, anticipation, bravery, teamwork, and work rate. The attributes here, so they're like 18, 16, 17, 16, etc. These are the exact attributes that I got from my Excel sheet. So what we can see here, and is really, really obvious, is the tackles per game statistic here. So you do obviously have some fantastic players here, the likes of Mascherano, Company, Chiellini, Sven Bender and Lars Bender are both in there as well. And you can see that the minimum amount of tackles that these players made based upon these attributes is 5.38 tackles per game, which is absolutely fantastic. Another thing that I decided to add in was appearances. So I only want to be looking at players that have made a minimum of 10 appearances over the whole season. So I've also decided to add in the personality just so that you guys can have a look at that as well. So the likes of determined is in there quite often, and we've got a couple of professionals here. What I'm going to do, guys, is just lower the attributes just by 1 click. This enables us to find 24 players. We can see that Mascherano is still the top of our list, but if we scroll right down to the bottom, you'll see that there's only a couple of players. I think this guy was, just a Serbian defensive midfielder. He's still making 2.26 tackles per game, which is not horrendous, to be honest. And this guy was like a 37-year-old Argentinian guy. So clearly you can see his mental attributes are absolutely fantastic, but in terms of his physical attributes, they're not exactly fantastic. But the rest of the list, so you're looking, most of the players are over like a 4 in terms of tackles made per game. Again, looking at the types of personalities, you've got a hell of a lot of determined personalities here. So this is another really, really good personality trait to look out for, guys, if you're looking for players with that are going to be making a lot of tackles per game. Leader seems to be cropping up as well quite often. So you've got the likes of Jagielka, who made 5.02 tackles, and then this guy Daniel Diaz as well has got 4.89 tackles per game on average. So it's quite interesting. So I'll knock the attributes down just one more little notch as well. So we've got this guy here. So this is a Greek guy, 27 years old. He's playing for Dortmund by the looks of things. So he just about managed to get onto our list, but it's quite interesting so he made 1 start for Dortmund and he got 10 substitute appearances, but his tackles per game was 7.5 overall, which is just unbelievable, to be honest. We have also got the likes of Javi Martinez, Scott Parker, Fernando, Lauren Koscielny's in there. And, you know, looking down this list, guys, so I'm scrolling down quite a lot here, and you can see most of these players with all these attributes here. Most of them have made over like 4 tackles per game, which is absolutely fantastic. There's a minimum that we've got here, based upon these attributes, is 2.21 tackles per game. I only have to scroll up a little bit from the bottom, and then we start getting onto the players who are making at least 3 tackles per game, which is absolutely fantastic. The results are pretty outstanding, I do think. So I'll just whack this up again to the attributes I actually got from my Excel sheet, and you can just see that this, you know, tackles per game is absolutely fantastic. So what I do want to have a look at, guys, is just if there's any player preferred moves that are included within this list. So let's have a look at some players like Mascherano, for example. What I'm really just having a look for is just ones that might influence the way that they tackle and things like that. So Mascherano has got dives into tackles, and he's also got stays back at all times. Dean Michaelis dives into tackles as well, so that potentially might be a player preferred move that we look out for. He also marks opponents tightly, which is obviously going to be quite a good one. Koscielny has not got any. This guy Markel has just got play short, simple passes. What I'm actually going to do, guys, really quickly, I'm just going to have a look at that dives into tackles just to see if that is one that crops up quite often, basically. Okay then, guys, so yeah, I've just been having a look through all the player preferred moves, and there's 2 that definitely stand out for me. So having a look at the dives into tackles player preferred move, you can see out of, I can't remember how many players are on our list, maybe about 25-ish, something like that. But yeah, you can see that the dives into tackles player preferred move is in a lot of the players who do make a lot of tackles per game. If I change this to does not dive into tackles, you can see, although there is some players in here who do make a lot of tackles per game, the amount of players who do dive into tackles, you know, there's a hell of a lot more of them based upon these attributes that I'm having a look at. Another interesting one that I did find, the marks opponent tightly, was the second one that I wanted to find here, guys. So you can see it does seem that using that player preferred move, the players do seem to make quite a lot of tackles per game as well, especially with these attributes, which is quite interesting. So it's been quite an interesting experiment, this one, guys. I'd like to see, you know, how this would work in real life, sort of thing, if you did manage to get a lot, you know, like a number of players with these attributes here. So just to recap, just before I end this video, guys, the ones that you're going to be looking out for is tackling, anticipation, bravery, teamwork, and work rate. And just to confirm as well, on average, the top 10 players in the Premier League who made the most tackles, they had average attributes of 18 for tackling, 16 for anticipation, 17 for bravery, 16 for teamwork, and 16 for work rate as well. So I'm going to call this the end of this episode, guys. It's certainly been quite a decent experiment, I think. I'm going to be having a look at making some more experiments. But yeah, this is quite a good one to do. And I do certainly think the results of this one are really interesting. Just also make sure that you're having a look for the player preferred moves as well, if you are looking to find players who do make a lot of tackles per game as well. So do leave your comments on this video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so, and of course do hit that like button, and we'll be back very soon for some more Football Manager videos. Thanks for watching.